Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. It is another chatty get ready with me today. It's kind of a chatty, venti get ready with me today though. I know my last one was also kind of venti, but I guess I just have a lot of stuff to vent about. And this one, the last one was really venti. This one is not as venti, but I don't know, I wanted to sit down and talk about something that I'm noticing in an increasing amount that I've never really seen at this volume or amount previously. And that is people coming in to get piercings that have done no research. And when I say having done no research, I don't just mean people who come in and are like, oh, I want to get, a vertical abrupt piercing, but I didn't realize how anatomy dependent certain placements for this would be, or things like that. Or people coming in who have an idea of what piercing they want to get, and they understand kind of how long it's going to take to heal and what to do, but they might not understand what jewelry they can start with or things like that. I mean, people coming in to get piercings who I don't know have ever even Googled the word piercing or have any concept of how getting and healing a piercing works. And what I mean by this, and the example that I'll give, is one that happened to me actually just the other day and kind of spurred on me wanting to make this video, was I had a client come in and they had booked an appointment for an industrial piercing. And so they came in, and the first thing we had to do was do a quick consultation and see if they even had the anatomy for an industrial piercing, because industrials are very anatomy dependent piercings. And I mentioned that we were going to do a quick anatomy consult first, and then we go from there. And they were like, oh, what do you mean anatomy consults? And so I explained, everyone's ears are shaped differently. Not everyone's ear is shaped for every single piercing. So we've got to check your ear shape and make sure that it would be safe and viable for us to do this piercing on you. And that's a surprising interaction for a lot of people. A lot of people are not aware of how anatomy dependent many piercings can be. And I'm not overly surprised by people who are not aware that there are anatomy consults with piercings. I do feel like these days there's more information than ever before about anatomy consults for piercings, but I'm aware that a lot of folks don't know about that. So, whatever. We do the consultation. They don't have great anatomy for an industrial, so we talk about this, but they do have anatomy that would allow me to do a modified industrial. So go over some different placements and variations on modified industrials. Their ear was actually really good to do this gemmy fancy floating industrial, so we talked about that. They mentioned that their goal was to wear charms and dangles, so we talked about some examples for that. I showed them some examples of modified industrials, and they were just kind of not into it. And I was like, okay, what is it about these that you don't like in comparison to a traditional industrial? And this person was like, those just look really painful, and I just wanted something that isn't gonna hurt and isn't gonna be hard. The way you're talking about how some of these might heal makes me think that they're gonna be hard. And I was like, oh, okay. It's never my intention to scare people away from getting the piercings that they want, but I was like, an industrial, kind of no matter what variation we're gonna do, is going to be a kind of uncomfortable piercing to get pierced, and it's going to be a little uncomfortable for the first couple of days. It's two piercings connected with one piece of jewelry. The process of installing that jewelry is not the most pleasant, and it tends to have a lot more swelling because of this and because it's two piercings connected. So it's going to be a little sore and tender for the first couple of days no matter what. My industrial was pretty uncomfortable until about the 1 or 2 week mark, when my swelling started to go down. And so it's just so you know, even if a traditional industrial is still really what you're considering, there's gonna be some discomfort. And the client was like, I thought industrial piercings don't hurt. I thought most ear cartilage piercings don't hurt. And I was like, well, no, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that they don't hurt. It is a piercing. It is gonna feel a little bit painful. There's gonna be some swelling initially, and there's gonna be some tenderness and soreness, and that's normal, but that'll settle down as it heals. And then once it's fully healed, you're right, it won't hurt anymore. And this client was just not understanding. They were like, well, why can't you do it so once it's done, it doesn't hurt? And I was like, it's a wound. So just like, like you get a paper cut on your hand or you pick at a hangnail, it's kind of sore and tender for the first little bit, I accidentally snagged a hangnail the other day and it is still a little tender. Like, that happens anytime we have a wound or an injury. Like, that's just like a normal part of the healing process. And we do everything as piercers we can to minimize the discomfort level, but it's gonna be there. So we talked through that, and we talked about like the discomfort that happens with certain piercings and like kind of what to expect. And they were definitely kind of hesitant. And this whole time I was like, there's also like no pressure to get pierced just because you came in with this appointment. Like, if you're not ready, we do not have to do a piercing. They were very adamant. They wanted to do a piercing. They wanted to like dress up their ears. We got to that. So then we talked about healing, and they were like, well, I also just don't really like that you're saying that a lot of these take like 6 to 9 months to fully heal. And I was like, well, like an industrial takes like a year to fully heal. And that was the original piercing that you wanted. So these are all going to heal a little bit faster. And the client was like, they don't take a year to heal. I have friends with industrial piercings. I feel like they only take like 2 weeks. And so I was like, no, I wish any piercing healed in 2 weeks, like genuinely from the bottom of my heart. I would have so many more piercings because I am notoriously a bad healer. Like, I wish they were that easy to heal. But no, piercings, they take quite a while to heal, and you need to clean and care for them that whole time. And we talked about like aftercare and the healing process. And the whole time this client just kept being, well, I just want one that's going to heal in like 2 weeks. And I kept trying to explain why that is like not really a thing. And that's not like an isolated interaction that I've had. I had an interaction the other day with a client who had gotten some piercings done elsewhere and was coming to my studio for some assistance with said piercings, and who was like, hey, like, I've had these piercings for like 2 months and they're still really sore and tender and they still get really crusty. Like, what do I do? And I was like, oh, like, they're 2 months old. Like, that's pretty normal. They're still healing. Like, what's your aftercare routine? And they were like, aftercare routine? Like, what do you mean? And I was like, like, how are you taking care of them? And they're like, oh, no, I don't do anything to take care of them. And I was like, oh, well, didn't your piercer go over like an aftercare routine with you? And this client was like, well, yes, but I don't think you should have to do all that. Like, it's just a piercing. You just get it pierced and then you have it. Like, you shouldn't need to do anything else. And so I was like, okay, like, again, like, I understand why that would be ideal. I agree that would be ideal, but that's like not how this works. Like, this is something that you have to heal and take care of and clean every day. And the client was like, well, I don't want to have to do all that. I just want to get a piercing and then have it be done. And I was like, yeah, I would love for that to be the case too. My life would be so much easier. But you do need to like take care of this. There is a healing process involved in this. Like, we need to make sure we're keeping up with this. Some piercings require like quite a bit of work and quite a bit of care. And to some extent, this has always been an issue. Like, as a professional piercer, I'm very honest with clients about how long it's going to take to heal things. And throughout my entire career, I've had clients come back 3, 4, 5 months into healing like a nostril or cartilage and going like, why isn't it healed yet? And I'll go, remember, we told you like it's going to take like 6 to 9 months to fully heal. And clients will be like, oh my God, you were serious? Like, I didn't think you were serious. I didn't think you really meant 6 to 9 months. And I'm always like, why would I tell you 6 to 9 months if I didn't mean it? I've always dealt with this to a certain extent, and I do get it. Like, I remember being young and getting some of my first piercings. I remember getting my industrial done the first time and being told like that's going to take a year to heal, and in my brain I was like, okay, like a year. And then when I was actually living that year and I wasn't just thinking about the concept of a year, I was like, oh, it's only been 3 months. I was like, oh my God, like, they are not kidding. Like, it is a full year, and this year be feeling long. This is a long year. So I understand why people would feel that way, and I've dealt with it, my entire career. But recently, like really recently, like within the last couple of months, I have had just so many clients coming in who I feel like have never ever even spoken to someone who's healed a body piercing, who just have no concept on any level how getting and healing a piercing works. And it's not like it's a level of ignorance that is a little startling, and what makes it further startling is people's refusal to learn, or like inability to grasp that information, because I have so much information about what to expect from healing piercings on my website, and I make it really abundantly clear. We have all the aftercare information, healing information on the studio website. When you book an appointment, you get an email that tells you what to expect from the appointment, what to expect from your piercing. All of these things are answered in our FAQs and online. I do consultations with clients in person in case they haven't read any of that, and I talk to them about what to expect from piercings, about what the risks are, about all of these things. We explain all of it, and despite all of this, I am still seeing like a stunning increase of clients just saying like I didn't even know I had to clean my piercing. I didn't realize I had to take care of it. I didn't think a piercing could take a year to heal. And I know it's not that information isn't accessible. In fact, it's more accessible than ever before. Like, the APP is constantly putting out good health and safety information about piercings online. Piercing studios all around the world are constantly producing educational content and sharing that more than ever. There's actually more resources than ever previously for like researching and understanding a piercing than there's ever been, and like planning for piercings that you want to get. And it's people like are actively choosing not to read like any of this and not to listen. And what's really scary to me is this is not just like isolated to piercing. This seems to be a consistent issue with clients and customers in almost every field. Like, I have talked to hairstylists that I know and nail techs that I know who are having the same problems. People are not reading anything or doing any research. Like, my hairstylist was just talking about how many people he's had come in and like want to go from like box brown or like years of black straight to platinum blonde. No understanding of anything. Like, he tries to explain and they just don't listen. All the information about like how to book for what services and stuff is online, and people are booking for a haircut and coming in and wanting like a full color and double process and not reading. I'm talking about folks that I know that work at like local gyms that have like codes of conduct and guidelines for like how to use certain equipment and rules for the gym, and they're like, yeah, nobody is reading. Nobody is reading anything we put online. Nobody is doing any research. Nobody is like trying to figure anything else out first. And they come in and when they have problems, they just blame us or they just get angry with us. And I'm seeing it all over online too, like watching different creators that I follow on TikTok who work in a wide variety of diverse fields talk about this same issue, where there seems to be a combination of people just deciding they're gonna buy this car or change their hair like this or get a piercing or get a tattoo and not do any research whatsoever before committing to this, and on top of that refuse to read or choose not to read any of the provided information about what they're trying to do. And then when they don't read any of the information, they don't know how anything's going on or working, and they like have issues or have questions, they come back to the people and they're like stunned and shocked when people are like, well, you can't do this, or this takes time, or this is how this has to be done. And I'm seeing it in conjunction with a lot of coverage of like reading comprehension and literacy levels dropping and people's willingness to read things and understand things dropping. Nowhere is this more obvious than the concept of like needing an appointment. Everyone I know who works in any type of business that requires appointments, from doctors and nurses to tattoo artists and body piercers to hairstylists and nail techs, are all online talking about how people just will not read any appointment guidelines. They show up and they're angry that they can't get taken right away, or they no-call, no-show their appointment and they're angry that they get charged, or they're angry that like they need an appointment and that they didn't read any of the information about what they need. And like a lot of these things have always been an issue to some degree, but especially in post-COVID times, the amount that these things are becoming issues is like alarming to me. And I feel like I'm real time seeing a dramatic change in like reading comprehension and literacy and care and thoughtfulness being put into doing things that change your body or change your life. And I genuinely don't know how to change that or fix that. Like, the amount of meetings I've had at my studio, like, how do we get people to realize that they have to book an appointment and that they have to bring their ID and that we can't service them without an appointment and their ID? And we're like, okay, we'll put it on this place on the website, and we'll make sure we email people, and we'll start calling people before their appointments to remind them that they need ID, and we'll start sending secondary email follow-ups to remind people that they need their ID. And we're still having more people than ever show up without an ID to get tattooed, and then getting angry at us and screaming at us going, what do you mean you won't tattoo me without an ID? It's like, well, they can't sell you liquor without an ID either. Like, you need an ID for these things. And for me, the lack of research when it comes to things like body piercing and tattooing is just so startling, because these are very permanent modifications that you're making to your body. And people are coming in and admitting that they haven't done any research or any reading into the process. They have no concept how the process works. And as a service provider, like, that makes me really nervous. I'm worried that I'm like doing these piercings, or that my coworkers are doing tattoos on people who don't really understand what they're consenting to and like the lifetime consequences that they may incur from deciding to modify their bodies in this way. But it's also not my place to like take away someone else's agency over their body. Like, I'm not here to be judge and jury and be like, you've done enough research, you can get a piercing. You haven't, you know? I'm here to provide a service to people who want to get that service done, but it like stresses me out and is consuming a lot of my mental energy, worrying about like, am I doing these services on someone who can truly give conformed consent? Because conformed consent, oh my God. Am I doing these services on someone who can truly give informed consent because they have the information, or am I not? And like, where ethically is that line? Like, when do I say, hey, like, I don't know if we should do this piercing, versus when do I like try and share the information? And it's complex and it's multifaceted, but I'm scared. I'm stressed by how much of this we're seeing, and seeing what other professionals are talking about in their field, and seeing what teachers and professors are talking about with media literacy and like reading comprehension in schools. And it's just wild to me. And I wanted to come on here and kind of chat about having seen this and experienced this. And I never in my career have had so many people coming in who had no idea that piercings require care and cleaning, or who expect piercings to be completely painless, or just all sorts of wild expectations, and then who refuse to listen or engage when we try and educate about why that might not be the case, and when we try to be honest. And if anything, I'm seeing so many of my peers in this industry get bad reviews and negative reviews and have bad interactions with people who are angry that they were honest about them not having the anatomy, or they were honest about like what the healing process was going to entail. And it's just kind of stressing me out. So I wanted to hop on here and kind of talk a little bit about what I've been seeing and vent a little bit about these experiences. And if you follow me and you are also in the industry or in a similar industry, are you seeing the same thing? Are you having the same problems? Is it just me in my little neck of the woods? And I don't even know what we do. I don't even know how we fix it. I don't even know what we do about it. I just know that I'm stressed that it's happening. So, if you're looking to get a piercing or a tattoo done, do some research, Google it a few times before you get it. Really think about what getting it will entail. Think about what you want out of it, all that stuff. Talk to your artists. Reach out to studios, reach out to piercers and tattoo artists, and ask about what it is you want to get done. And read whatever we send you, because we're not just sending you this stuff to send it to you. We're not just telling you this stuff to tell you. We do it because we care, and we want you to be informed. We want you to be educated. We want you to be safe. So that's why we send you the emails and give you the aftercare and do all of that stuff. It's to keep you safe and make sure that your piercings and your tattoos and your haircuts and your nails are successful and healthy and safe. But yeah, I was so shocked by those interactions and by this continued trend of interactions, and I really hope it's not a trend that we see continue. But thanks so much for sitting down and hanging out and let me vent a little bit about this and my confusion and concerns about this. I'm doing my makeup today to go do some filming. The videos that I'm filming right now, it's March, are going to be up in April and May. I'm doing a big content crunch right now for April and May, so I'm going to go film hopefully 10 more videos today. So wish me luck. I'm sure we will sit down and chat again soon, and have an awesome rest of your day. Bye!